course. What? So that tree over there? It's not the only thing I cut down with the chainsaw today.
What is it with men and power tools? You guys like turn into little boys.
Little boys that can't stop thinking about little girls.
I hate it so much.
The look on her face during that clip is also like, uh-oh. Something bad's about to happen.
Oh no.
And it does. He holds mistletoe over her head and they kiss passionately, which is not the reaction to that line.
No.
Also, I guess they took cynical as the direction to write a character as somebody who nags constantly and is like a real shitbag. Because in Naughty and Nice, the characters are terrible. He's of course like a secret Prince Charming in that all Prince Charmings are ass. And they go back to LA pretty quick after that. And he has like a butler and a giant like palatial estate and stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty garbage. So that's pretty much all that Naughty and Nice is. It's a guy in a trilby negging a woman who also seems kind of dumb until they end up together and they're both DJs. Who cares? Anyway.
That's how it ends?
Yeah. Don't watch that movie. It's bad. Now, a movie that I also think is very bad, but I think everybody should watch just to make themselves do it, is a movie called A Dog Walker's Christmas.
Oh my god.
So this movie it doesn't star anybody you care about, and it's really weird coming from a family that has had a lot of dogs. They clearly were initially making this movie as a way to like proselytize dog owners and their like specific quirks and lingo and stuff. It feels like there's a lot of like, why do you like dogs? And it's like, oh, I just love dogs because they blank. And like, there's all this like filler content of like, she was real fat and then she got a dog and walks it every morning. And now look at her. Like that kind of shit. Lots of dumb things in that. Also, the main character is kind of more rounded out in that movie than most. She's like starts the movie in the end of a really obsessive one-way relationship that's only been going for like 2 or 3 months. And then like realizes that it was like just not that great. And then when she sees the ex later, even though there's no real like on screen like working through issues or anything, she's not like a complete Lifetime movie psychopath. She's like pretty normal. So that stuff's good. But in that movie, the male lead is what? Has something happened? I heard a death scream over there.
It's my internet that's fucking up this time.
Oh, well, it makes sense. You're off in the woods.
Yeah, that does make sense. So, okay, listening to your like the dog walker movie, is there kind of a subtext where they're like in a way trying to equate like a dog with God and Jesus because dogs are like pure-hearted and they just love you so much? And
honestly, it's not doing that, but it also everything in the movie focuses on this male lead at certain points, and he's the worst. He's like when she first meets him, it's the like they've already assumed that this guy is somebody everybody wants to fuck right away. And he's just like the only single guy at a dog park. And it starts off with her saying something about like, oh, that's a cute dog or something, and he's like, oh, thank you, everybody says that about me. Like, it's rough to start. And he essentially spends the entire movie like lying to this person, but in like a slightly cutesy way where it's like, oh, it's fine that he lies to this person. And then they try to add like pathos to his character by saying, well, he does have minor dyslexia problems. It's the weirdest, like, what? And it never matters. Like, it doesn't, it is a secret that he tells her that for all like pieces of the movie, it could be a lie too, but it doesn't matter, I guess. Also, he seems much older than her, like much older, even though they're both supposed to be like, well, no, she's supposed to already be in like her postgraduate stuff, and he's like going to college, but he's like, he seems like he's like in his mid to late 30s, and she seems like she's like 18. Nice. Which is, you know, classic storytelling. So that movie's bad, but I think people should watch it just to feel the confusion that I felt in every bit of that. And then I watched A Cinderella Christmas, and everybody should see this movie. It is fucking terrible. It is a Cinderella story, but it's, instead of two evil stepsisters like Disney-esque. It's one cousin who is kind of my favorite character of the movie because she's the only one who has like a personality. She also wears like harsh clothing, like it's all like super like pigmented tones that don't match, and like clothing items that don't match, but they work fine. She looks like a cartoon basically, and I'm fine with that. She also is like kind of a bitch, which I'm finding out more and more as I like have gone through like extensive dating life shit. I kind of just am drawn to that personality anyway, which is too bad. But she is the best character. The Cinderella character looks like she started getting Botox when she was like 8 or 9 and is now just like a completely blank face with giant lips, which is a weird thing. They also, a fantastic thing they do, especially in the first half of this movie, is they shoot every single shot from a forced perspective that doesn't make any sense. So will be shooting the Cinderella character talking to like the male lead and the evil cousin, and she will look like she's fucking Gandalf from the Lord of the Rings, like twice their size. And then in the next scene, the male lead will be like a full 1.5 feet taller than her and standing next to her, and they just don't care about their shots at all. It's like that fourth Transformer movie when every time you see like a robot, it is a different size compared to Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Where like he comes up to the waist of like Optimus Prime in a couple shots, and then it'll be a shot where he's like up to his ankle, and they just don't give a shit. But that movie's amazing. It has the worst characters. Everybody should be like thrown in the dumpster. The best friend of Prince Charming is one of the only people who's like even halfway a regular human, and the evil cousin is fun in like this villain has no real villain qualities kind of way. And then after that, I think that's where Goosebumps 2 came in. Oh shit, there was something else that was terrible. Well, I also watched The Christmas Prince, but we'll talk about that later. There were some other movies that were not paid enough attention to matter.
Well, I'm gonna add these to my list. Or
Oh
at least
yeah,
the Cinderella one and the Prince story.
I'll give those titles again. We got Naughty and Nice. Don't watch it. We've got A Dog Walker's Christmas. I do suggest watching that. And A Cinderella Christmas, which, if you watch those two back to back, I really need to know your thoughts on them. They are rough stuff, but like still entertaining. A Cinderella Christmas is harder to watch, but way dumber, so like it kind of makes up for it. But the male leads in these movies are the worst. There are shades of The Night Before Christmas in A Cinderella Christmas that I think starts with the weird shirtless stuff as
okay.
Oh, you like me now, kind of thing.
Well, that's enough motivation for me to watch that.
Also, the Cinderella Christmas male lead looks like Batfleck. He's got a very like grizzled Batman look, but none of the personality.
Perfect.
So I want to take that relationship / social weirdness and jump into the Enneagram stuff that we ended up doing.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to leave it up to you for the descriptions of this stuff, but I did take the test. And I'm a 1 with a, what is it, a wing? Is that the term?
Yeah, I think you're second, like, the one you're second most like is your wing. But what's really confusing is on their website is that they say typically your wing is a number that's adjacent to you on the diagram. But that wasn't the case for me, at least.
Yeah, yours was closer than that. But I think that's probably why it's typically, because I could see that being a likely but not foregone conclusion.
Yeah. So you were a 1.
I was a 1 with a 6 for mine. With a 6 wing. And then, sorry, I just shuffled these cards because I saw them sitting off on the table. It wasn't a weird fart. And then you were a 4 with a 7?
Yeah.
Okay, and Evan was a 5 with something?
I don't remember what his wing was, but he's like he will not even entertain a conversation about this, but he is like so dead on to the 5 description. It's infuriating that he won't even address it. I think he knows, and that's why he doesn't want to talk about it.
It sounds right.
He's screaming from the other room.
It sounds on brand.
Yeah.
So what is your thing, and do you agree with it?
Yeah, my thing, like the 4s, it's called the individualist, and basically the personality type is kind of characterized by a really deeply ingrained belief that you're like somehow different from everybody, and that can it can go like in the positive or it can go in the negative. Like positively, that attribute can be expressed by like you identify as like really creative, you have creative ideas, you're like mostly just like creativity, I think is what it said. But in the other direction, you think that because you're so unlike anybody else, your problems are also unlike anybody else, and you think that you're like unhelpable and like doomed, essentially.
Do you feel like that describes you well?
I think so. I think if I'm like pretty honest with myself, I think there's a lot of truth to that. Just not even like consciously. I think it's just in a lot of maybe like my behaviors and thought patterns. I can see that being the motivation behind a lot of it.
Okay.
Which I don't love, but
I mean, it's not the worst flaw to have if you feel like that's accurate to you.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty accurate. I'd have to kind of pull it up, but I felt like mostly everything I read in there was pretty on point. And what I kind of can you turn it off? Can you turn it off? Thank you. What I kind of like about the Enneagram stuff is they also rate your they have kind of like a health scale. I don't know if you saw that on their website.
No, I didn't dig real deep. I just kind of read the descriptions on the couple places you gave me.
Yeah. Well, they have like 9 levels of like how each type is at like 9 different levels of health. So 1 is like the healthiest you can be, and 9 is like the worst. So for type 4's health, you're level 1, like at your best. You're really creative, expressing the personal and the universal, possibly in a work of art, inspired, self-renewing, and regenerating, able to transform your experiences into something valuable, and just like generally creative. But level 9 is like despairing, feel hopeless, and become self-destructive, possibly abusing alcohol or drugs to escape. In the extreme, emotional breakdown or suicide is likely. Generally corresponds to the avoidant, depressive, and narcissistic personality disorders.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, I'd say both of those sound pretty accurate to me when I think of like best times and worst times. So,
It sounds fun.
yeah, it's fun.
Anytime somebody evokes suicide as a personality type. So what is mine? I forget what the title of mine is.
Yours
But it
is
seemed fitting enough.
yours is you're 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the reformer.
Right.
Yeah.
I just remember it was like all of your motivations are anger based, which isn't untrue, but it is very reductive, I feel like.
Yeah. I could see that. Their summaries are kind of reductive, especially when you get to the part where they're like, you're probably going to kill yourself at some point. But you felt like overall it was somewhat applicable to you.
Yeah, it had a definite spark of like putting projects over yourself kind of thing, which I think has been a good/bad aspect of most things I've done. I weirdly, I may have mentioned this before, but I feel like a long stint of like dating and trying to like meet people definitely gives you a weird insight on all of your like very particular faults and stuff like that. And uh like your dating successes kind of give you some insight on the inverse. And I would say you could probably make like a collected data version of me that is similar to what this would give, like just a lot of kind of wrapped up in my own shit, but I want other people to like join in on a cause slash like complete a larger picture. And if that includes like damaging my own like lifestyle or ability to like persist, that's not a huge deal until it is, kind of thing. So I think that's pretty true. That speaks to a certain amount of like bad at certain types of future planning, but passionate kind of thing that I have struggled with a fair amount. It also fits the kind of stereotypical like painter lifestyle, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I just think the stuff is fun just to kind of, self-searching. I don't know, just kind of think about it. But they also have on the Enneagram Institute website, at the end of each summary, they have like recommendations for personal growth. And I felt like mine were actually pretty helpful. For my type, it's mostly just like, don't think that your emotions are the truth, which is a good one. And I think that pretty applicable to me. It's basically just like, hey, put things in perspective and like don't behave as if that's always the case. The way that you're feeling is actually what's happening, because it's not, because you're kind of crazy.
Do they have one of those for what my thing is? I want to see in real time if I vehemently agree or disagree.
Yeah, I have it right here. So there are a couple. The first one is learn to relax. Take some time for yourself.
I see that one being true, but also fuck off.
Yeah. The next one, it says, you have a lot to teach others and you're probably a good teacher, but do not expect others to change immediately.
Okay.
And it goes on. Third one is, it is easy for you to work yourself up into a lather about the wrongdoings of others, and it may sometimes be true that they are wrong, but what is it to you? That's funny.
Yeah. Well, these all seem pretty accurate, if general, so I can see that as good advice for certain things. I definitely think that the getting worked up stuff is not going to change, mostly because of the way the United States is right now. But I look forward to that and potentially like relieving my own stress as being the future I'm working towards, let's say.
There you go. Apparently it says your Achilles heel is your self-righteous anger, so you better be working on that self-righteous anger.
Well, thankfully that one's not too bad.
Oh my god.
What just happened? Are you alive?
I'm fine. A truck driving by just let out the biggest, loudest honk I've ever heard. That's all.
All right. Well, you are currently in Coeur d'Alene, yes? The wondrous bastion of all the good shit they have out there.
All the good things. Actually, I'm back in Moscow already.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'm just not used to this view.
Oh yeah, I've angled my screen so you can't see the gigantic pile of trash that we need to take out.
Aww.
It's not pretty. And it's mostly beer, so.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I tried to insinuate that people should bring beer to yesterday's Nerdsgiving, and I was unsuccessful. So I'm drinking a lot of like weird old gift alcohols. Working through the stash. It helps with the painting.
Yeah, the painting.
It does.
I really, really, all I wanted this weekend, or not weekend, I kept thinking it was weekend because it's a holiday, but like during Thanksgiving, all I want is a really shitty holiday, like novelty drink. And I don't want it to be eggnog. And I don't want it to be, I don't really know what I want. I'm thinking something in along the lines of like Smirnoff Ice, but cranberry. Or like,
well,
I haven't even seen it. I have been looking for something and I haven't found something to like scratch that itch that I have. So if you have any suggestions.
I might. Here, I'll put this here for a moment. And I'll grab. Tell me how this makes you feel, and I'll grab my drink selection.
Okay. Well, to describe what Jesse has propped up on this microphone, it's what looks like an abstract painting of grays and blacks and a streak of white in kind of a cloudy shape, and it makes me feel kind of bummed out, to be honest. And now Evan's making some tea, so I'm sure that can be heard in the background. And what else does this painting remind me of? Looks like a mountain or a big L, like letter L. Oh! Oh! Yay! I recognize at least one of those things, and I know you can't hear me, but...
All right. Did you have a lot of really important thoughts about that underpainting?
Yeah, I said it made me feel a little bummed out.
Nice. It's going to be a portrait of my sister.
Cool.
So, I guess first, I have this partial of Saint Michel Brut.
Ooh, nice.
I mixed this with cranberry sauce and apple cider the other night. It was passable. I made the poor choice of using a cranberry sauce that had walnuts in it. I didn't know that was going to happen.
Ooh.
I have this
Okay.
Tennessee Honey Jack Daniels partial. I think this might actually have been from Hawaii because it is a $16 plastic bottle. So I'm going to guess that's from the import store. I got this Bud Light Colada.
Those are my fucking favorite. Total no shame. I love those.
25 ounces. It's a nice thick one for probably tonight.
Fuck yeah.
I got this high gravity hurricane. Also, the big one.
Oh my god.
That's another 25 ounces.
That is a big one.
Of malt liquor. And then I have this from my friend as a late. This was a late Christmas gift from last year that I got like a month after my birthday for my birthday. And this is just Capriccio Sangria. It's it is sangria with pineapple, grape, lemon, pomegranate, orange, pear, apple, cherry, and lime.
So like all the fruit.
So you know it's good, and it is more alcoholic than wine. So I look forward to that.
Jesus.
That's my short list. I also have some of my housewarming Grey Goose left from your friend and mine, Cow Lady, and then you know the one.
Yeah.
And then I have my own like whiskey stock, but I don't want to use up my bottle of whiskey unless there might be troubled times where I need that stuff.
It's the emergency whiskey.
Yeah, it's my bravery juice.
Oh, yeah, I don't have any fun holiday alcohol purchases, but I did just find in a grocery outlet on the clearance shelf 4 shot glasses made out of pink Himalayan salt, specifically for tequila.
I would like you to have those. And then I would also like you to you said 4?
I have 4 of them, yeah.
If you and Evan came here, we'd have 4 people to do shots out of those. That sounds quite good. Also, fourth official member, Nick, has been asking if you're coming for some part of the holidays pretty much every time I see him. So you are both welcome and have a place to stay from the sound of it if you want. I might
lovely. Yeah.
I might give this a slight shake.
I always forget to do that, and then
open up this fine colada.
Okay, I want one so bad. Now I have to go get one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Have you had the mango one? The one with mango flavor as well?
No, I'm kind of stuck with the classic because I like the saltiness of it.
The classic is the best one, is what I was going to say. So you've
Also,
made the right decision.
I have found in the past that this goes very well with poultry.
Yeah.
It took a while before I started. Man, this is 25 ounces of this. This is quite a bit. It is the first time I ever had one. It was like probably past its expiration by a ways.
Ooh.
And I had it during a birthday party in a weird, like, I'm going to call it an illicit house that I lived in. And I had like 20 people who were going to walk with me for my birthday to a shitty Mexican place that had sort of a no rules, just right atmosphere. And also, one of my friends fucking invited random people on the street. Oh, no, random people on a porch also came with us.
To your birthday?
Yeah, that was interesting. They were like, hey, and saw like a group of us, and she was just like, come on. Cool. Anyway, before we left, we all took drinks out of the ceremonial expired gelada. And it wasn't good. It was very, very thick, which I feel is not correct.
No.
But now that I've had real ones, I know.
They're good. They're fucking good.
Yeah, if anybody hasn't had them, it's basically just I would say it's the gin and tonic of like a Bloody Mary world. Like it's pretty light, but it has the same like slight tomatoey spice thing going on.
Yeah, it's everything that I love. It's better than the local Mexican restaurants micheladas that they make. It's better than that, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
but
that is a little unfortunate.
That's pretty bad, but I do love a michelada.
I will say, so there's a place called Lost Lake in Seattle that is. It had a turbulent time about a year and a half ago. The guy who started that and a bunch of local music that is like a lot of Seattle's like artistic music and like hip hop scene. It was found out that he was like, seems like he was a big time like date rapist kind of guy. And it was a big enough company. It wasn't just his company by the time that happened. It was like him and like a small board of people that kind of oversaw that that label and like the places that he owned. So it seemed like he was just a depressed weirdo that was also an asshole. So they just kind of removed him, and the next year was sort of like fixing a bunch of stuff to make sure that he was like not a part of it, which I appreciate, but it also ruined a lot of restaurants for a little while. And Lost Lake is finally decent again and guilt-free for the most part, I feel like. I think he got cut out of all the money that that company makes, so I feel more or less okay about that. But that place has a brass monkey that they mix perfectly. And also, it's extremely cheap all the time, which I appreciate because it's just cheap beer and orange juice. And that and gelada are sort of like opposing points of my flavor spectrum. I like that a lot. Also, that's not a real brass monkey. Like brass monkey is a mixed drink, but
okay, I've never had one before. I don't know what they are.
If you guys end up here anytime in the next before you end up moving somewhere else or whatever, we'll go to Lost Lake because I feel like that is the correct place to get slightly drunk for very cheap on stuff that tastes good.
Okay, yeah. I'm always up for that
Yeah.
situation.
Though it is in Seattle, so you
Mm.
got to be prepared to be on a bus or be miserable.
Or both at the same time.
Well, that's my whole life. That's what I'm into.
Speaking of being miserable in transportation, I'm actually driving to Tacoma with my brother on Monday.
Oh boy. Tacoma.
Yeah. His Christmas present from my mother was to buy him tickets to go see the Chainsmokers, which are his favorite band.
Are they Christian?
And no,
Well,
nope. They're like, um, they have a lot of radio hits. If you heard any of their songs, you would be like, oh,
I'm
with
aware of them.
exactly that.
I just
Okay.
don't care.
I mean, that's the correct response, I feel like. But they're Carter's favorite band. So that is where I'm going to be
That'll be
in the
fun.
near future.
Well,
Yeah.
if you end up in Seattle and need to eat, remember what I told you.
Okay. I think we're actually Evan and I are gonna make a trip up to Seattle, possibly in January.
Ooh,
Um, yeah, I think we're gonna meet our old roommates that we stayed with while we were there and
okay.
hang out. Yeah.
That's cool.
Good. Yeah, I think we're gonna go back to our old conveyor belt sushi haunt.
Right. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
I believe that is the same place that Carrie and Nick like to go to. I haven't been to it, but I tend to I like sushi. It's hard for me to be like, yes, give me this conveyor belt sushi because most of my best experiences have been sitting at a bar, but
Yeah.
I should probably be more open to that.
Well, here's the thing about going there is that first of all, I mean, it's a conveyor belt sushi place, so obviously you know kind of the range of quality you're in for.
Uh-huh.
You're just aware of that going in. But this particular sushi restaurant, the manager, his name is Anthony, and he really likes to give out free sake like candy. So
I do like that.
yeah. So I mean, if you get enough of it, the sushi's great. Like it's totally the best sushi you'll ever have. Um,
I have a friend who is the best person ever to like go places with, uh, who basically just is at least as socially awkward as I am, but she uh, instead of doing what I do and just sort of like not getting involved, she will get drunk or get buzzed and then be involved, but still very awkward. And somehow that mixed with just who she is turns into like everybody in
free
every
stuff.
place we go, yeah, just gives her whatever.
I think
Uh,
I know who you're talking about.
and I used to go to the sushi place with her, and it was perfect because she knew the owner and she
Yeah.
like the main cook, but he would just load us up with everything. And because I was there with her, I would get all this stuff like thrown my way as well. It
That's
was
amazing.
very good. Definitely not a person that you should expect to have a normal outing with, but that works out fine usually.
I mean, if free sushi is part of the deal, then yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
ideal.
Uh, but I did end up paying. She's married now at least, but I paid the I would say less of a price and more of a ticket for being the third wheel on a lot of dates to like help make sure nothing super weird happened, which the dates never appreciated, and uh, that was always fun.
Also an ideal situation.
And because of the weird person I am, my awkwardness came out in having sketchbooks that have a lot of like sketches from failed dates that she's gone on. Not by me, by the dates that were failed.
Oh no.
So I have a lot of like passive aggressive, angry sketches and weird places and sketchbooks that are like, oh, I remember this guy. This guy was pissed. So that's pretty fun.
Oh my god. You should make a scrapbook of those for for.
They're I could make interpretations, but they're bad sketches.
Oh no.
These weren't artists. These were just people who were like
mad with the pencil in their hand.
Basically, it's hard to say. People are weird on dates, and even weirder when they're like buzzed.
Yeah. This is true.
Also, because I wrote it down, I forgot why I wrote it down, and now I'm just interested in it again, probably because I'm drinking. The last bit of time at work before this break started, which we're now officially more than halfway through, just in case you're keeping track, the last chunk of work had a lot of food stuff happening, and that normally isn't very interesting, but what was it? I think no, it was Monday, I think. We just got one of every appetizer from Applebee's delivered because the head of the company wanted some wings, and that was the whole reason. So going through a full sampler of everything they have to offer in the appetizer category really gives you a perspective on the quality of dishes they're dealing out there. I feel like I did eat at Applebee's a few times, but it was mostly with an ex-employee that at the time was getting constant coupons, and they were given special like permission to use those coupons on alcohol. So once again, it was different friend, but similar situation. Oh, also I was the third wheel on a lot of those dates, I guess. Man, I've been typecast in my life. I wonder if I can find something about this in my Enneagram.
I think you should look it up because I want to see. That is pretty awesome. Actually, Evan and I went to Applebee's on Halloween.
That is the perfect time to be at Applebee's.
Because they were advertising some kind of like shitty dyed red vodka soda with vampire teeth in it that I really wanted for $1.
How was it?
They weren't serving it. They were like it's not happening anymore, and maybe it wasn't on Halloween. It might have been like the day before, but
that's garbage.
It was pretty garbage. I was really upset, so I ended up ordering like a blended horrible mixture of something, and anyway, but it was massive. And then we ordered the appetizer sampler, so we had a very similar experience, I imagine.
Is that 3 appetizers on a plate, or am I thinking of Sherry's?
It's like same idea. I think it's a little bit of pretty much all of their appetizers. All
the wet tacos and weird like chip-based foods you can handle.
Yeah.
So open secret that I've learned is that everybody fucking loves spinach dip, and I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Really?
I'm fine with it. Like, I don't have a strong feeling, but like everybody in the last couple weeks has talked about spinach dip in a weirdly reverent way, and that was never part of my life. Good. I was always like a oil and vinegar person, I guess. I was a poor person.
That does not having having a taste for oil and vinegar somehow doesn't make you sound like a poor person.
Yeah, I know.
It makes
but
you sound
my,
like I'm picturing you sitting eating bread with oil and vinegar with a monocle on.
my family had a chunk of time where we were so poor, the only thing that we could eat and afford it was homemade pasta. So it was like my dad, while he wasn't at his weird job that was like occasional, he would just sit while I was at school all day and make ready dough for pasta out of like base ingredients. So like where it would normally be $1 a box, it was like 50 cents. Like it didn't seem like a huge deal, but when you eat it every day, it adds up, I guess.
Yeah.
And so we had like weird versions of pasta where like the ready dough would be mixed with something, whatever it was that was like on sale, and then we would eat that. And so we always had like a big bottle of oil and a big bottle of vinegar because that was like some of the process and stuff of like making that palatable.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, since we had all the ingredients, he would also make bread. So we would have like just starch all the time.
Yeah.
And my dad is somebody who, for a while, constantly smoked but refused to eat vegetables and fruit. Actually, no, he would eat some vegetables, but he wouldn't eat any fruit. He hated it for some reason, which was weird. And so we would just have like things with oil and vinegar as like a meal a lot of the times, and that's sort of like my history with it, where when I would go to like other people's houses, that was always like an appetizer to like a fancier meal. I feel like restaurants do that too. It's like the countryside Italian cuisine thing,
Yeah.
as opposed to here you go, you have the money for some bread and oil like I was used to.
Yeah, no, I've definitely only seen that in like Italian restaurants that were like,
Yeah.
ooh, here's a novelty item we'll give to you to start with.
There's a lot of weird shit my parents did. One of them was collecting coins from what was it? It was like it was coins from stuff we had to do, but it wasn't laundry. I can't think of what it was, but like once every like month and a half or 2 months, we would have enough coins to where we could afford a pair of hamburgers. So my stepmom and I would count out change and then walk like the half mile to the Kid Valley that was like closest to our place.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the extravagant meal that we would have every once in a while. But a lot of those memories get weird when you mash them all together. So the extravagant meal is having some French fries, and the the like everyday shitty meal was having fancy Italian food, I guess.
handmade pasta and bread dipped in oil. Homemade bread dipped in oil.
Yep. You know.
That is very like Italian countryside of your parents.
Very rustic.
That's pretty good.
Just for a disclaimer, that's not a pop secret. Do not interpret that.
I was gonna say, I feel like you just let out about 8 pop secrets right about now.
No. There's a lot weirder stuff. That's just my family's weird.
Oh, okay, good.
There's weird family stuff that gets real weird, so that can show up when the pop secrets are expended.
Okay, good. We never want the pop secrets to dry up.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to start going to the source after a while. Did I send you that incredibly confusing
Yes.
statement?
the
What-
fuck?
What the hell did that say again?
What was even the context? It
Uh,
was like, I'm gonna remember this wrong, but I feel like it'll be funnier if I remember it wrong. It was something like, and that's why I could never, or no, and that's why my legs are so hairy because I'm French, or
Oh.
something.
Yeah. My dad, I guess like second cousin, who's like a little bit older than me, but like has a, I guess, more successful life as a designer. And I have like a group chat, and that shit gets weird.
Yeah, that was a really good snippet. To have no context behind it whatsoever.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. It was because he said that he was going to start drinking 2 hours before Thanksgiving dinner, and I mentioned that that's very French of him. So that's my whole humor thing.
And then he responds with, "I'm so French that I have hair on my knees!" Exclamation point.
I don't know what that means, and I feel like it could be the most racist thing I've ever heard, but I have no idea.
That's not. I couldn't even identify it as racist because I'm like, is that even a stereotype?
I've never heard
I've
hairy
never
French
heard
stereotype. But
Oh, that's pretty funny.
also not a pop secret. But yeah, I'll have to start getting them from him at some point, I'm sure. There's a lot of people that I know he's met that he has not told me about, and I'm sure there's a story behind some of those.
Oh yeah. Well, I have one story, or one short thing to share.
Is it
From
related to that
Thanksgiving.
video?
Which video? I don't
Oh.
remember.
The eating video, the mukbang you sent me before we started?
Oh, no, actually, that's totally unrelated, and I completely forgot about it.
Okay.
That's also something very good. I sent Jesse a video from a YouTube channel called Vanilla Ham Ham, which is the chronicles of a hamster named Vanilla, and the owner of the hamster just makes like miniature foods for it to eat.
I really like that tiny kitchen. I'll say that.
It's very good. And right before we started this, I watched about 10 of those videos and came to the unfortunate realization that Vanilla, the hamster, did pass away about a year ago.
Well, that's a bummer.
R.I.P.
Rest in power, Vanilla.
May there be many tiny cakes for you in heaven. But no, the other thing I was going to say is not related to that. So my second topic that I had in my intro was waxed cats. And
what?
it's not. So what happened was on Thanksgiving after dinner we were watching a movie in our living room.
Okay.
And have I told you about my cat that lives with my parents?
A little bit, but give some context.
So he's like actually 20 years old. He's a very old cat. He's a very, very old cat. And he is very skinny and kind of getting like decrepit, but he still jumps around and does stuff that he probably is like breaking his bones doing.
Yeah.
And his name is Spicy. Probably the most important detail.
My cat growing up lived to be 18, and he already seemed incredibly old, so I'm sure a 20-year-old cat is pushing it.
He's in the stage of his life where he's just given up like grooming. So
Yep,
he's very
same.
dandruffy. Yeah, and he like will use his litter box and does not give a fuck to shake off
Yeah.
his paws anymore. And
This
so
is
there's just
all
litter
stuff
kind of
I am familiar with.
yeah, like end of life cat
Yeah.
personality. Anyway, so that's just to give you a picture of Spicy. Anyway, we were watching a movie and all of a sudden we hear like a huge crash from upstairs where in the kitchen, and we realized that the cat had jumped from the dining room table to the kitchen counter, which is a good like 4 or 5 feet. Like probably shouldn't be jumping that much.
Uh-huh.
And he landed on a candle that was burning.
Ooh.
And he didn't like catch on fire, obviously, because we know that he hit something, but I don't think anyone knew it was the candle that he hit, and he like knocked over some of the wax onto the counter. But anyway, so we just kind of kept watching the movie, and the next morning, my mom is picking up the cat, and she's looking at him, and she's like, "Oh no, he's bleeding! Like there's stuff on him." And I look at it, and I'm like, "That's very pink. That's like way too pink to be blood." And I realize it's wax. Like my cat's whole side is just a plate of wax, like completely hardened.
That must have been a comfortable night for the cat.
I know. I feel so bad. And then we couldn't figure out exactly like how to get it off. We couldn't. You can't like rinse it out because it's wax. So we Googled it and tried putting coconut oil in his fur to kind of maybe dilute it or get it to come out. That didn't really work. He just got really oily.
Ooh.
So I think my mom has already shaved him or will shave him. So
Cats love that, especially when they're old.
oh yeah. I can't wait for her to send me a photo of my cat half shaved because he's gonna be like this big around. He's so
Yeah,
small.
I can't wait for you to send me a picture of your cat shaved as well.
He's gonna hate it so much, but
You know what I don't hate?
Chilada. This is some really good Chilada ASMRs happening right now.
Yeah, if anybody enjoys slowly sipping Chilada, they're going to be real jealous.
I'm jealous already.
Or horny. I don't know how ASMR is supposed to work, but I think that's part of it.
I didn't know that. I mean, I guess I knew on some level that
You
somewhere,
do.
somewhere there's someone, but I thought most people just did it to like. I've heard a lot of people do it to fall asleep, and then some people have some sort of tingly feeling, but I've never.
I think the tingly feeling is boners because I don't know what they mean. Like I definitely have music I listen to where I'll get like the shivers up your spine kind of thing because I'm into the music. That could be what they're getting, and that's not a horny thing, but the way it's described and the frequency that I hear about it really doesn't seem like a unhorny situation.
I've heard it described in a way that didn't sound like that to me.
It didn't sound rickety randy to you?
Not to me, but I'm also notoriously a little bit naive when it comes to these things.
That's probably good.
It just a pleasant tingling feeling like in your brain.
Okay.
Which I guess could be code for boners.
It's hard to say.
Anyway, I don't know. There are some that I've listened to that I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like I could get that.
Maybe I'll send you some of the ASMR videos that people have sent me, and you can revisit this next week and tell me what you think tingling means.
Okay, if it's like the weird whispery ones, then yeah, okay, I get where that could be like boner town, but
that's what a lot of them were originally. Like now there's ASMR stuff that I like that I've found, but it's like the same thing that white noise was before, which I don't originally I did not ever hear that as ASMR. ASMR was always like manipulating something and speaking in a way that made it sound like you were like with people, or like almost like some people use podcasts to be like in a room with somebody. That's
Yeah.
sort of how ASMR was sort of shown to me originally.
Hmm.
And now like there's places that do like stuff I would listen to at work, like the rain noises and stuff.
Yeah.
But I just think of that as like either nature or white noise, and it now has a ASMR tag on it for most things. So I think there are different ideas of what that is. But
Yeah.
the
I
original
wouldn't
one I
think of.
heard was generally somebody like talking inaudibly and crinkling stuff and like rubbing clothing and weird shit like that.
Yeah. Those I don't like. I don't really like the people sounds.
Yeah.
I don't like anything that sounds like a person. But the only ones that I have really liked are the ones where they like tap the camera. I like those. Like there's one where the lady is like tapping the camera lens, which I can't watch because watching it I hate, but listening
Uh-huh.
to it is kind of like,
All right.
interesting.
Huh.
Maybe I'll send you that one, and you can send me your creepy ASMRs.
Yeah, you do that.
Okay.
That does mean I have to sift through this shit though, so maybe I'll need the Tennessee honey for that.
That's a good combo. Tennessee honey enchilada.
Yeah. You really want that sort of syrupy sweet mixed with the saltiness.
Oh yeah.
It's the caramel of mixed drinks. Uh-huh.
uh-huh. Um. Also, if I do bring those shot glasses, I tried using them one time and I found out real quickly that because they are made of salt, if you put a liquid in them, it cannot stay in there for more than like 2 seconds, or else it
Okay.
just becomes saturated with salt
I'm
and it's
into it.
undrinkable. Yeah. Like I didn't realize it would I don't know what the chemical term is, but like just dissolve that quickly into
Yeah.
I just like took a shot of tequila and I left it for not even that long, like maybe a minute, and it
Yeah.
was horrible, horrible. And I like
Excellent.
salty things. I love
Uh,
salty things.
yeah. I mean, if we both like.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, thank you. Oh no. Okay. That's a people sound. I don't want it.
uh, so those cookie stones, though, the like baking slabs
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
are salt, even when it's just dough touching it, it does make like a really salty flavor. So I could see alcohol just drawing that right out of
Oh,
it.
so fast. It was so bad that I like I just poured it into a plate near me and I left it, and then the next morning I came back to it and it was in my windowsill, and then overnight it had formed like salt crystals, like
Ooh.
the science experiments that you do in high school where you grow salt crystals.
Yeah, I did a lot of salt and sugar crystals, but I think it was in my private time because I was a nerd. Uh, oh,
Yeah.
some check out this. Well, maybe I'll just send it to you. I'm getting some pretty extreme Christmas ornamentation out by where my folks live. Somehow my pops always knows to text me around the time that we do this, even though it's often different times.
He psychically knows.
Yeah,
Pop secrets are being told.
he has to protect his brand. Uh, though this is normal stuff, it's just very Christmassy. So you have been delivered that, and it'll be there in a minute. Uh, was there any other video type stuff past the vanilla hamster, or was that the extent of it?
I think that's the extent of it.
Okay.
That's pretty much. I just wanted to share with you the tragic story of Vanilla the hamster.
I did enjoy the not eating very much of it, but still making a video out of it. That was pretty good.
I got really frustrated with some of those. I had to click to the middle of the video for it to actually be eating the thing. So you just walk around forever.
There was a lot of like ignoring it in those.
Just like generally being a hamster and not eating. Yeah.
That sounds right.
But yeah. Now the lady's got a new hamster, but it's not the same.
Is it the channel name is still Vanilla, I assume?
Yeah, it is. I think the other hamster's name is something like, yeah, I don't know. I think Honey, maybe.
Okay.
It's a brown hamster.
Well, at least it's diverse.
I like my hamster channels to be diverse.
Well, I feel like we have a good plan for bad movies next time.
Yes.
So I'm excited about that. I'm glad that the great wisdom of the Enneagram could enter our lives. I'll take that into advisement.
Yeah, settle that righteous anger.
Yeah. I'll try to keep that in check. Do you have any requests for the upcoming podcast that we should focus on?
Not that I can think of. I mean, I think I'm on board with this continuation of watching horrible holiday movies.
And I'm sure, given the season, there will be plenty of other horrible and not so horrible things happening over the course of our weeks.
Yeah, there is actually a new Netflix original that's pretty bad. I think it's called Let It Snow.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not as exciting of a watch as Night Before Christmas. There's no real like novelty to it. Actually, it sounds very similar in plot to the Naughty or Nice one.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, it's not good. But the acting might be worth talking about.
Okay.
It's not great.
What's the title again? I'll look into it.
I think it's called Let It Snow.
Okay.
I watched it a few weeks ago because it has a YouTube personality in it that I like.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah. She's actually her main career is as an actor, and she was in Ant-Man for like 5 seconds.
Okay.
So.
As what character, do you know?
She is a reporter.
Oh, in the first Ant-Man?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Her name is Anna Akana.
I don't recognize the name, but that doesn't mean anything.
No one can see me gesturing because it's a podcast.
You can hear it. There's ASMR.
My gesturing noises. All right. Okay. Well, that seems like a good place to leave it now that I think we've recorded a good 2 hours of trash.
Like usual. Oh, what's that over there? Oh, pajamas!